Lucky American coins. The 1993 United States 1-cent coin may look like nothing more than an ordinary penny, the kind of coin that millions of people have carried in their pockets, dropped into jars, forgotten in drawers, or passed from one person to another in everyday transactions. Yet for collectors, coin hunters, era specialists, and enthusiasts of American numismatics, a 1993 Lincoln cent can become much more interesting when its condition, mint origin, production characteristics, or possible error is examined carefully. The story of the 1993 penny is not really a story about a coin that is automatically worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Instead, it is a story about how collectors determine rarity, how mint errors are created, how condition affects value, and how a seemingly ordinary 1-cent coin can become a fascinating piece of American history. The first thing to understand about the 1993 Lincoln cent is that it belongs to the long-running Lincoln cent series. The Lincoln cent is one of the most recognizable coins in United States history, and its design has remained familiar to generations of Americans. The obverse carries the famous portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, while the reverse used during the 1993 production year features the Lincoln Memorial. The coin therefore connects two important symbols of American history, Lincoln himself and the memorial built in his honor. The 1993 Lincoln cent was produced during an important period in the history of American coinage. By 1993, the United States Mint had already transitioned away from the traditional bronze composition that had characterized Lincoln cents for much of the 20th century. Beginning in 1982, the standard 1-cent coin changed to a copper-plated zinc composition. This means that the core of the coin is zinc, while a very thin layer of copper covers the outside. The change was made largely because the rising cost of copper made the old bronze composition increasingly expensive to produce. The standard 1993 Lincoln cent weighs approximately 2.50 grams and has a diameter of about 19 millimeters. Its edge is plain rather than reeded. These specifications are extremely important when examining a coin that is claimed to be an error. A genuine mint error often leaves clues that can be investigated through weight, appearance, dimensions, metal composition, and the physical characteristics of the strike. If someone discovers a 1993 penny that weighs substantially more or less than expected, that difference could potentially be significant. However, weight alone does not prove that a coin is a valuable error. A coin may have dirt, corrosion, damage, plating problems, or other post-mint alterations that affect its weight. Professional examination is therefore essential. The Philadelphia Mint produced billions of 1993 Lincoln cents. According to PCGS Coin Facts, the Philadelphia issue had a reported mintage of 5,684,705,000 coins. That enormous production number immediately tells us something important about the ordinary 1993 Philadelphia cent. The standard coin is not considered a classic rarity simply because of its date. Millions upon millions of examples were produced, and many survived. The same principle applies to the Denver issue, which also had a very large mintage. The 1993 D Lincoln cent was produced in enormous numbers as well. Because so many 1993 cents were made, collectors generally do not pay huge amounts for an ordinary circulated example. A typical worn 1993 penny may be worth little more than its face value, depending on the exact issue and market. A coin in uncirculated condition can be worth more, particularly if it has strong red color, excellent luster, minimal marks, and a high certified grade. The highest quality examples can attract substantially greater interest than common circulated pieces. This is where the concept of grading becomes extremely important. Coin collectors commonly evaluate coins using a numerical grading scale. Circulated coins may receive grades such as good, very good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, or about uncirculated. Uncirculated coins are generally assigned mint state grades, often ranging from MS 60 upward. Proof coins use a different grading designation, such as PR or PF. A coin's color designation can also matter for Lincoln cents. Copper-plated zinc cents may be described using designations such as brown, or red depending on their appearance and preservation. A 1993 penny, with brilliant original red color and exceptional surface quality, can be much more desirable than a heavily circulated brown example. This is because modern Lincoln cents are collected in high grades, and condition rarity can become more important than the basic date rarity. In other words, the date itself may be common, but a particular coin in an exceptionally high grade can still be difficult to find. The 1993 Philadelphia cent is especially interesting in high-grade collecting. PCGS records a 1993 1C road with a top auction result of $3,375 for an MS-69 road example sold in 2022. That is a significant price for a 1-cent coin, but it is nowhere near $283 million. This difference is extremely important because it demonstrates the necessity of separating verified auction records from sensational internet claims. The existence of a rare, or high-grade 1993 penny does not automatically mean that the coin is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The 1993 D cent has also achieved notable prices in high grades. PCGS records an auction result of $4,600 for a 1993 DMS-69 example. Again, this is an impressive result for a modern Lincoln cent, but it is still dramatically lower than the $283 million figure sometimes repeated in online videos or social media posts. The documented market is determined by actual transactions, certified examples, auction records, collector demand, and professional evaluations. This does not mean that errors are unimportant. In fact, genuine mint errors can make a 1993 Lincoln cent far more interesting and potentially more valuable. The key is understanding what constitutes a genuine error. A mint error occurs when something goes wrong during the manufacturing process at the mint. Coins are produced through a complex sequence of operations involving metal strip preparation, blank production, upsetting, die striking, inspection, and distribution. If an unusual event occurs during one of these stages, the resulting coin may display characteristics that collectors identify as an error. One possible category is a striking error. A coin may be struck off-center if the blank is not properly positioned between the dies at the moment of striking. An off-center 1993 penny could display a portion of the design missing from one side, while another portion of the blank may remain completely unstruck. The degree of off-center striking can influence collector interest. A very minor shift may be interesting, but not necessarily extremely valuable. A dramatic off-center strike that clearly shows the date and exhibits a substantial portion of the design missing can be more desirable. Another possible error is a broad strike. This occurs when a coin is struck outside the retaining collar, or when the collar does not properly contain the planchette during striking. The result can be a coin that spreads beyond the normal diameter and lacks the standard edge characteristics expected of a properly struck cent. A genuine broad strike is different from a coin that has simply been flattened or damaged after leaving the mint. A related category is a partial collar error. This can occur when the collar mechanism is not properly positioned during striking. The coin may develop a distinctive appearance sometimes described by collectors as a railroad rim. The shape and edge characteristics are important when determining whether the coin is genuinely mint-made. Another possibility is a double die. A true double die occurs during the die-making process and can create noticeable doubling on certain elements of the design. Collectors look carefully at lettering, numerals, and design details. However, many coins that appear doubled are not true doubled dies. Machine doubling, die deterioration, die wear, and other effects can create confusing appearances. This is why a suspected double die should be examined by specialists rather than assumed to be a rare variety based solely on a photograph. The date 1993 itself is particularly interesting because collectors may encounter many different forms of damage that resemble errors. A coin can be hit by machinery, scraped against another coin, exposed to chemicals, damaged by heat, bent, drilled, plated, painted, or altered in countless ways after leaving the mint. Such damage is generally called post-mint damage, and usually does not create the kind of premium that a genuine mint error can command. For example, imagine finding a 1993 penny with a strange indentation near Lincoln's portrait. At first glance, the mark might look like an error. But if the indentation was created after the coin left the mint, perhaps by another object striking it, it is not a mint error. The distinction is critical. Collectors pay premiums for genuine mint errors because those coins represent unusual events in the manufacturing process. They do not generally pay the same premiums for damage that occurred later. The same principle applies to missing copper plating. Because 1993 cents are copper-plated zinc, collectors sometimes find examples where the copper layer appears damaged, peeled, or missing. Some examples may represent legitimate mint errors, such as improperly plated planchets or plating-related defects. Others may simply have been exposed to chemicals or physical abrasion after production. Determining the cause requires careful examination. A genuine missing plating or incomplete plating error can be interesting because it reveals the underlying zinc core. The color may appear different from the normal reddish copper appearance. However, a coin that has been stripped chemically should not be confused with a genuine mint error. Chemical stripping can remove the copper coating after production, creating an appearance that is superficially similar to an error. Weight is another important clue. A normal 1993 copper-plated zinc cent should weigh about 2.50 grams. If a suspected error weighs significantly differently, that may justify further investigation. But a weight difference must be interpreted carefully. Dirt, corrosion, plating loss, damage, or inaccurate household scales can all create misleading results. Collectors should use a precise digital scale capable of measuring to at least hundredths of a gram. A coin that weighs substantially more than normal could potentially indicate an unusual planchette or an improper metal composition, but the claim must be verified. A coin that weighs less could potentially indicate missing plating or another production anomaly, but again, professional authentication is necessary. The 1993 cent is particularly interesting because it belongs to the copper-plated zinc era. The coin's construction means that damage to the copper coating can sometimes expose the zinc beneath. Zinc can react with environmental conditions differently from copper, and damaged plating may lead to corrosion or bubbling. Collectors should be cautious when interpreting these features. The appearance of bubbles on a 1993 penny can sometimes attract attention. If the copper plating separates from the zinc core, the coin may show blistering or bubbling. Some examples may be associated with plating problems that occurred during manufacturing. Others may result from environmental damage. The exact characteristics matter. A true mint error should ideally be examined under magnification and compared with known examples. The location of the anomaly, its shape, the metal exposed, the condition of the surrounding design, and the overall physical structure can help determine whether it occurred during production. One of the most exciting possibilities for a 1993 Lincoln cent collector is the discovery of a dramatic error that escaped the mint's quality control systems. Modern coin production is highly mechanized, but errors still occasionally enter circulation. When an unusual coin survives and reaches the public, collectors may eventually discover it. However, the idea that a 1993 penny with an error is automatically worth $283 million is not supported by documented market evidence. There is no known verified auction record establishing a $283 million sale for a 1993 Lincoln cent. A video or online listing may use such a number to attract attention, but a claimed value is not the same as a confirmed market transaction. The difference between an asking price and a realized price is extremely important in the coin market. Anyone can list a coin online for an enormous amount of money. That does not mean anyone will actually pay that amount. A coin's real market value is better understood through completed sales, auction results, professional price guides, population data, rarity, condition, and demand. For this reason, collectors should be skeptical whenever they see claims that a common modern penny is worth millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. Sometimes these claims originate from exaggerated social media content. Sometimes an online listing has an unrealistic price. Sometimes a headline combines a rare error with a sensational figure. The responsible approach is to investigate the actual coin and compare it with reliable sources. The 1993 Lincoln cent still has plenty of potential interest without needing an imaginary $283 million valuation. A genuine dramatic mint error can be exciting. A top-grade certified example can be valuable. A rare production anomaly can attract specialists. A coin with an unusual provenance or important collection history may also be desirable. But each of these factors must be verified individually. The design of the 1993 Lincoln cent also deserves attention. On the obverse, the coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln facing right. The inscriptions include Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date 1993. Depending on the mint of origin, a mint mark may appear below the date. The Philadelphia issue generally has no mint mark, while the Denver issue carries a D mint mark. Proof examples from San Francisco carry an S mint mark. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial dominates the design. The words United States of America appear above the memorial, while 1 cent and E pluribus unum appear as part of the surrounding inscriptions. The Lincoln Memorial reverse was used on Lincoln cents from 1959 until 2008, making the 1993 penny part of a design era that lasted nearly half a century. The Lincoln Memorial reverse is historically significant because 1959 marked the 150th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The new reverse replaced the wheat ears design that had been used since the introduction of the Lincoln cent in 1909. The memorial design remained in circulation for decades until the 2009 bicentennial designs and the later Union Shield reverse. The 1993 cent therefore represents a specific moment in American history. It was struck more than 3 decades after the Lincoln Memorial reverse began and more than a decade after the transition to copper-plated zinc. It was produced during an era when the United States Mint was manufacturing billions of coins to support a growing economy. For collectors, the history of the coin can be just as interesting as its potential value. A penny may have passed through countless hands before being placed in a collection. It might have been used to purchase a newspaper, a piece of candy, or part of a larger transaction. It might have traveled across several states. It might have remained untouched inside a mint set. Or it might have spent decades in circulation before someone noticed an unusual feature. The idea that an ordinary penny could hide an unusual error is one reason coin hunting remains popular. Collectors search rolls of pennies, old jars, inherited collections, estate sales, bank boxes, and pocket change. They look for unusual dates, mint marks, varieties, errors, and high-grade examples. When searching for a 1993 penny, the first step is to identify the mint mark. A 1993 without a mint mark is generally associated with Philadelphia. A D indicates Denver. An S indicates a proof coin produced at San Francisco. The mint mark alone does not make the coin worth millions, but it helps identify the exact issue. The next step is to inspect the condition. Look at Lincoln's cheek and jaw, the fields around the portrait, the lettering, and the reverse surfaces. On the Lincoln Memorial reverse, examine the columns, steps, lettering, and surrounding fields. High-grade coins should have strong details, attractive luster, and minimal contact marks. Color is also important. A red Lincoln cent generally retains much of its original bright copper appearance. A red-brown coin has partially changed color, while a brown coin has undergone more extensive color change. Color designations can affect collector demand and grading outcomes. The third step is to inspect the coin for possible errors. Use a magnifying glass or a loupe. Look for doubled letters, unusual rims, off-center strikes, missing design elements, plating abnormalities, cracks, cuds, clips, and other unusual features. But do not immediately assume every strange feature is valuable. The coin market is full of examples of damage being mistaken for errors. A coin may have been struck by another object, squeezed in machinery, exposed to chemicals, or deliberately altered. The most valuable errors are typically those that can be clearly attributed to the minting process. A clipped planchette is another possible type of error collectors may encounter. A coin struck from an improperly cut blank can show a curved missing section along its edge. Genuine clips can display specific characteristics that help distinguish them from post-mint damage. The shape, metal flow, and edge appearance are important clues. A die crack is another mint-made feature that can sometimes add interest. As dies age, cracks can develop. When the cracked die strikes coins, raised lines may appear on the resulting pieces. Some die cracks are common and have little premium, while dramatic examples may attract collectors. A cud is generally associated with a die break involving the edge of the die. A substantial piece of the die may break away, allowing metal to flow into the damaged area during striking. The resulting raised blob, or abnormal design area, can be visually dramatic. Again, the size and significance of an error matter. A tiny die crack may not be worth much. A dramatic, clearly authenticated mint error can be considerably more desirable. The market for modern Lincoln cents is heavily influenced by certification. Professional grading companies such as PCGS and NGC authenticate and grade coins, helping collectors establish confidence in a coin's identity and condition. Certification does not guarantee a particular selling price, but it can make a coin easier to sell and easier for buyers to evaluate. For an alleged 1993 error, authentication becomes even more important. If someone claims that a coin is worth an extraordinary amount, the burden of proof should be extremely high. A reputable grading service or recognized error specialist should examine the coin. The phrase "worth big money" can mean different things to different collectors. For one person, a coin worth $10 may be exciting. For another, $100 may be significant. For a serious collector, a rare error worth several hundred or several $1,000s may be a major discovery. The idea that every unusual penny is worth millions is simply not realistic. The documented market provides a better perspective. PCGS reports an auction record of $3,375 for a Philadelphia 1993 MS-69 road example. It reports $4,600 for a 1993 DMS-69 example. Other grades and varieties have achieved lower amounts. A certified 1993 MS-67 road example shown in the PCGS certification database had a price guide value of $24 at the time of the record, demonstrating how dramatically value can vary according to grade. These are examples of documented market data, not guarantees of future prices. This information should not discourage collectors. In fact, it should make the hobby more interesting. The possibility of discovering something genuinely unusual is what makes coin searching exciting. You do not need a $283 million coin to have an interesting discovery. Finding a genuine mint error that sells for $50, $100, $500, or several $1,000s can still be an incredible experience. The most important question is not, how much does the internet say this coin is worth? The better question is, what exactly is this coin, and what evidence supports its value. Suppose you discover a 1993 penny that appears to have a major error. You should first photograph both sides of the coin under good lighting. Next, weigh it accurately. Measure its diameter if necessary. Examine the edge. Look for signs of damage. Compare the coin with standard examples. Search for known varieties and errors. If the anomaly still appears genuine, submit it to a reputable grading or authentication service. Do not clean the coin before submitting it. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and reduce collector value. This is particularly important for copper and copper-plated coins. Abrasive cleaning can leave scratches, while chemical cleaning can alter the original appearance and potentially destroy evidence that might help authenticate the coin. Storage is also important. A coin should ideally be kept in a protective holder that minimizes exposure to moisture, chemicals, and environmental contaminants. Handling the coin by its edges rather than touching the surfaces can help prevent fingerprints and oils from damaging the finish. If a 1993 Lincoln cent appears to be worth a substantial amount, do not rush to sell it to the first person who makes an offer. Obtain multiple opinions. Compare auction records. Check certification. Learn whether the proposed value is based on actual completed sales or merely an asking price. The $283 million claim can therefore be presented in a responsible way, as a sensational figure that circulates online, not as a verified current market value. A video can still use the claim as a hook, but the audience should be told clearly that no confirmed $283 million sale of a 1993 Lincoln cent has been established. This distinction is particularly important for viewers who may search their own change after watching a video. If someone finds a 1993 penny, they should not assume it is worth millions simply because the date matches the video. Instead, they should carefully inspect the coin for genuine characteristics. A normal 1993 penny is generally a common modern coin. A high-grade example may be worth more. A certified top-grade example may command a stronger premium. A genuine mint error can be more valuable. A major, dramatic, rare, authenticated error can potentially be worth significantly more than a normal example. But the exact value depends on the specific error and the market at the time of sale. The concept of rarity is also complicated. A coin can be rare in one grade but common in another. For example, millions of coins may survive in circulated condition, while very few may survive in exceptionally high mint state grades. This is called condition rarity. Modern coins often have large populations in ordinary condition, but can become surprisingly competitive at the highest grading levels. This is why collectors sometimes pursue registry sets and high-grade examples. A collector who already owns an ordinary 1993 cent may still want a superb MS-68 or MS-69 specimen. The challenge is not finding the date, but finding the date with nearly flawless surfaces. The 1993 cent's copper-plated zinc construction creates another interesting aspect of preservation. The copper layer is extremely thin compared with the coin's zinc core. Scratches or damage can expose the underlying metal. Over time, environmental exposure can cause corrosion. This means that coins stored improperly may deteriorate. A coin that has remained in a sealed mint environment may preserve its original appearance better than one that spent decades in circulation. However, even a coin that looks perfect to the naked eye can have tiny marks visible under magnification. Professional grading considers many subtle factors. Collectors should also understand that an error coin's value depends on visual appeal. A dramatic, easy-to-understand error is often more desirable than a subtle anomaly. An off-center strike that clearly shows the date may be immediately recognizable. A minor die crack may require magnification and may appeal only to specialists. The size of the error can also matter. A small off-center strike may have limited value, while a dramatic 50% off center strike with a visible date could be considerably more desirable. But there is no universal price formula. The market ultimately determines the selling price. The same applies to doubled dies. Strong, clear doubling in a prominent area can be desirable, while weak machine doubling may have little value. Collectors must learn to distinguish genuine varieties from mechanical effects. The 1993 Lincoln cent is also a reminder that coin collecting combines history, science, economics, and detective work. The collector becomes an investigator. The coin becomes evidence. Weight, diameter, metal, die characteristics, mint mark, condition, and provenance all contribute to the story. The history of Abraham Lincoln adds another layer. Lincoln's portrait has appeared on the cent since 1909, when the United States Mint introduced the Lincoln cent to commemorate the centennial of his birth. The design was created by Victor David Brenner. The Lincoln portrait became one of the most enduring images in American coinage. The reverse design changed in 1959, when the Lincoln Memorial replaced the wheat ears reverse. The 1993 penny therefore belongs to the Lincoln Memorial era. The reverse shows the Memorial Building, connecting the small 1-cent coin with one of Washington, D.C.'s most recognizable monuments. By 1993, the Lincoln cent had already become a familiar part of American life. People often considered pennies nearly worthless individually, but the enormous number of coins produced each year made the cent essential to commerce. At the same time, collectors continued searching for unusual pieces. The contrast between face value and collector value is one of the most fascinating aspects of numismatics. A coin officially denominated as 1 cent can sometimes sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars if it has exceptional rarity, condition, or an unusual error. The metal value may be insignificant compared with the numismatic value. This is why a collector should never judge a coin solely by its face value. At the same time, the opposite mistake should also be avoided. Not every old or unusual-looking coin is rare. Not every error is valuable. Not every internet valuation is accurate. The 1993 cent is a perfect example of this balance. The date is common, but certain individual examples can be more interesting. A high-grade coin can be desirable. A genuine error can be collectible. A dramatic and authenticated error can potentially command a premium. But the extraordinary $283 million valuation remains unverified. For a YouTube audience, this is actually a powerful story because it encourages viewers to look beyond sensational headlines. The real excitement comes from learning how to identify coins correctly. Imagine someone finding a 1993 penny in an old jar. The coin appears darker than normal. The person notices a strange raised line near the date. They wonder whether it is a rare error. Instead of immediately assuming a fortune, they begin investigating. They weigh the coin. They inspect the edge. They compare photographs. They look at certified examples. They learn about die cracks and post-mint damage. Eventually, they discover that the raised line is simply a minor die crack with limited value. That discovery may not make them rich, but it teaches them something important about coins. The next time they find an unusual piece, they know what to look for. Another collector might find a 1993 penny with a large portion of the design missing because the coin was struck significantly off-center. This could be more exciting. If the coin is authenticated as a genuine mint error, its value could be higher than that of an ordinary 1993 cent. Another collector might find a coin with an unusual weight. This could lead to an investigation of the planchette. Perhaps the coin has a plating issue. Perhaps it has suffered environmental damage. Perhaps it is something genuinely unusual. The investigation itself is part of the hobby. One of the most important lessons for collectors is to avoid cleaning. Many people believe that making a coin shiny will increase its value. In reality, improper cleaning can reduce collector appeal. Original surfaces are often highly valued. A professional grading service may identify a cleaned coin and assign it a details grade rather than a normal numerical grade. The same principle applies to polishing, coating, or altering a coin. A coin that has been artificially modified is generally not considered equivalent to an untouched mint product. When examining a 1993 cent, collectors should use neutral lighting and avoid making decisions based solely on photographs. Color can look different depending on lighting conditions. A red coin may appear brown in one photograph and bright red in another. The best approach is to examine the physical coin carefully. A digital microscope can help identify details, but magnification can also make ordinary imperfections look dramatic. Collectors should always compare what they see with known examples. Professional authentication becomes particularly important if the potential value is significant. An authenticated coin has greater credibility in the marketplace. Buyers are more likely to trust a coin whose identity and condition have been independently evaluated. The market value of an era coin can also change over time. Collector tastes change. New discoveries can increase or decrease perceived rarity. A coin that was once considered extremely unusual may become less rare if additional examples are discovered. Conversely, a variety that was overlooked may become more popular after specialists study it. This is why the phrase current market value should be used carefully. Market values are not permanent. They depend on supply, demand, condition, certification, auction venue, timing, and buyer interest. A 1993 penny worth $10 today may be worth more or less in the future. A rare era may attract a strong bid at one auction and a weaker result at another. The presence of two highly motivated collectors can dramatically affect the final price. Auction records are therefore useful, but should not be treated as guarantees. A record price represents one particular transaction involving one particular coin at one particular time. This is especially relevant to the $283 million claim. A claimed value of $283 million without a verified sale should not be presented as a confirmed market price. A responsible coin video should explain this clearly. The real story is still fascinating. A 1993 Lincoln cent represents American history, modern minting technology, the evolution of coin composition, and the continuing popularity of Abraham Lincoln's image on U.S. currency. The coin's 2.50-gram weight is one of its identifying characteristics. Its 19mm diameter and plain edge provide additional clues. Its copper-plated zinc construction distinguishes it from earlier bronze Lincoln cents. The Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco issues can be identified through mint marks and production context. The Philadelphia 1993 cent has no mint mark. The Denver issue carries AD. The San Francisco issue was produced as a proof coin. Proof coins were made specifically for collectors and typically exhibit specially prepared surfaces and sharper details. The 1993 South Proof Center is another collectible version of the date. The existence of multiple versions means that two 1993 pennies can look similar at first glance, but have very different collecting characteristics. A circulated Philadelphia cent and a flawless proof are not equivalent. Proof coins can also have errors, although they are generally produced under more controlled conditions. A proof error that escaped production controls can attract significant attention because collectors may expect proof coins to receive greater scrutiny. Again, the exact error determines the value. There is no universal rule saying that every proof error is worth a fortune. The same principle applies to mint marks. A 1993 D cent is not automatically rare because it has AD. A 1993 S proof is not automatically worth thousands simply because it is a proof. The condition and specific characteristics matter. Collectors should also be aware of counterfeit or altered coins. Although a common modern penny is not usually a major target for sophisticated counterfeiting, valuable errors can attract attempts at alteration. A coin may be artificially modified to resemble a rare error. This is another reason authentication matters. For anyone who thinks they have discovered an extraordinary 1993 penny, the safest strategy is patience. Do not clean it. Do not alter it. Do not glue it into a display. Do not attempt to repair it. Keep it safe and seek expert advice. Take clear photographs of the obverse and reverse. Photograph the edge. Record the weight. If possible, photograph the coin next to a ruler for scale. Keep notes about where you found it. Provenance can sometimes be useful, particularly if the coin came from an old collection or documented source. A coin's story can add interest. A penny found in a family collection may have been preserved for decades. A coin discovered in circulation can be exciting because it survived unnoticed for so long. The 1993 penny also illustrates the concept of survival. Although billions were minted, many were lost, destroyed, damaged, or removed from circulation. The population of coins in exceptional condition can be far smaller than the original mintage. This is why collectors distinguish between mintage and survival. Mintage tells us how many were originally produced. Survival estimates attempt to determine how many remain today in various conditions. These are not the same thing. PCGS data for the 1993 Philadelphia cent reflects the enormous original production and provides survival estimates for different grades. The coin is considered common in general, but the highest grades can still attract collector attention. The 1993 D issue follows a similar pattern. The original production was enormous, yet top condition examples can be more desirable. The PCGS auction record of $4,600 for a 1993 DMS 69 illustrates how condition can create a major difference in value. This is why a collector should never throw away a coin simply because it is modern. At the same time, collectors should not assume that every modern coin is a hidden millionaire maker. The best approach is education. Learn the normal appearance of a 1993 cent. Learn the correct weight. Learn the design. Learn the mint marks. Learn how the copper plating behaves. Learn the difference between errors and damage. Learn how grading works. Learn how auction prices are established. Once you understand the normal coin, unusual examples become easier to identify. If the coin is normal, it may still be a nice addition to a collection. If it is in excellent condition, it may have a premium. If it is a genuine error, it may be more valuable. If it is an extraordinary authenticated error, it could attract serious collector attention. But the coin must be evaluated on its own evidence. The phrase, 1993 penny worth $283 million, can certainly generate curiosity and clicks, but the responsible collector knows that a headline is not proof. A real valuation requires evidence. The market does not operate according to viral claims. It operates through buyers and sellers. If a coin truly sold for $283 million, there would be substantial documentation, auction records, and professional reporting. Without that evidence, the figure should be treated as unverified. The most realistic conclusion is that an ordinary 1993 Lincoln cent is generally worth around face value in circulated condition, while collectible examples can bring higher prices depending on grade. High-grade certified coins can reach hundreds or thousands of dollars, and genuine rare errors may command premiums. The exact amount depends on the specific coin. The coin's face value is 1 cent, but its collector value can be greater. The documented auction records demonstrate this. The Philadelphia 1993 MS 69 road record of $3,375 and the 1993 DMS 69 record of $4,600 show that exceptional examples can be valuable. But these prices are still far removed from the unverified $283 million claim. For viewers searching through their collections, the key is to focus on evidence. Look for genuine errors. Look for exceptional condition. Look for strong original color. Look for unusual mint-made characteristics. If you find something unusual, take your time. The most valuable discovery is not always the coin with the biggest number attached to it. Sometimes the greatest reward is the knowledge gained by learning how coins were made and why certain examples became collectible. The 1993 Lincoln cent may have started its life as a 1-cent piece, but decades later it can become a window into American manufacturing, history, economics, and collecting culture. The portrait of Lincoln reminds us of the nation's history. The Lincoln Memorial reverse connects the coin to one of America's most recognizable monuments. The copper-plated zinc composition tells the story of changing production costs. The 2.50-gram weight and 19mm diameter identify the coin's technical specifications. The mint mark tells us where it was produced. The condition tells us how well it survived. And an authentic mint error can tell us about something unusual that happened during the production process. That combination is what makes coin collecting so fascinating. A penny can be common and still be interesting. A common date can still have rare high-grade examples. A modern coin can still have an error. And a coin that looks ordinary can sometimes reward a careful collector who knows exactly what to look for. If you have a 1993 Lincoln cent, examine it carefully. Check the date. Check the mint mark. Check the weight. Look at the edge. Inspect the plating. Examine the lettering and numbers for genuine doubling. Look for off-center striking, clips, broad strikes, die cracks, cuds, and other mint-made characteristics. Then compare what you see with reliable references, and if necessary, submit the coin to a professional grading service. Do not rely on a viral price alone. Do not assume that a coin is worth $283 million simply because someone posted that number online. Instead, ask the most important question in numismatics: what is the evidence? If the coin has a genuine, rare, dramatic, and authenticated mint error, then it may indeed be worth more than its 1-cent face value. The stronger the error, the better the condition, and the greater the collector demand, the greater the potential premium may be. But the exact market value can only be determined by the actual coin and the actual market. The 1993 Lincoln cent remains a fascinating piece of American coinage, not because every example is a hidden fortune, but because it demonstrates the endless possibilities of collecting. Billions were produced, yet individual coins can still differ in condition and characteristics. Some were circulated for years. Some remained nearly perfect. Some may have unusual production flaws. Some may have been preserved in collections. And a small number may have characteristics that make specialists stop and take a closer look. That is the real excitement of the 1993 penny. It is the possibility that an ordinary coin might have an extraordinary story. And that is why, whenever you find a 1993 Lincoln cent that looks unusual, you should never immediately throw it aside. Pick it up. Examine it. Weigh it. Study it. Compare it. Learn from it. Maybe it is completely ordinary. Maybe it is a high-grade example. Maybe it has a genuine mint error. Maybe it is something that deserves professional authentication. But whatever the outcome, the process of discovering the truth is what turns a simple penny into a fascinating piece of numismatic history. The $283 million figure may sound exciting, but the real value of a 1993 Lincoln cent comes from facts that can be verified. Its historical importance, its design, its production method, its condition, its rarity, its errors, and its documented market history all contribute to the story. And in the world of coin collecting, the truth is always more valuable than a sensational number. So the next time you see a 1993 penny, do not look at it as just 1 cent. Look at the portrait of Abraham Lincoln. Look at the Lincoln Memorial. Look at the copper-plated surface. Look at the date. Look at the mint mark. Look at the tiny details. Because somewhere among the millions of ordinary coins, there may be an example with a feature that tells a much more interesting story. And that is the real reason collectors continue searching. Not because every penny is worth a fortune, but because every penny has a history, and sometimes, hidden inside that history, is a discovery waiting to be made.